So, along this spiritual journey, something that I recognized as a very, very helpful tool has been naming my soul. Some people call it the higher consciousness, the higher self, the 5D. This all is a way of identifying all of the energetic bodies that work through our physical body. We always have to remember that yes, we are conscious beings when we are aware of ourselves and others, but we're also just vessels for an incarnated soul that has lived this energy before, some way, somehow, and has come back to redo anything from its past energies that need to be worked out. This is what we call karma. Karma is real, dharma is real. The reason you have to understand the difference between karma and dharma, there's no bad or good, only distortion of energy. Remember that. There are concentrated energies that what their purpose here is to destroy things. Remember, not just people. I'm talking about the elements of the earth. Water is beautiful and necessary, but water erodes, can destroy, tsunamis, people can drown. All of these elements of water, it's beautiful and necessary to life, yet it destroys and can take life in a second. So, is water bad? No. But if someone decided to use water to hurt a person or to hurt someone's property, then that's where the distortion of now water is a bad thing. This is why we have to understand the difference between the duality of self, which is the name and the body given to this fleshly earth. Remember, we go through the process of birth. We were babies once. I said that to someone and they're like, you know what? You don't think about it. Yes, we this physical body was once a little kid. You have to remember how much your body's been through. Whatever physical trauma you've been through, your body's been through it. So that means your child, your inner child, you who had to grow up learning how to keep your mouth shut and watch other adults make mistakes that you know could have been dealt with better, but were taught not to deal with it emotionally, so you had to shut down and you became a product of functional society. This is what we call the matrix, when you just shut off everything you know is true of yourself, of your knowledge of wisdom that you've experienced. Even if you know it's true, you will tell yourself it's a lie and go with the rest of the world because popular demand says to do so. This is the matrix. There's nothing big about it. There's a lot of people who want to make it seem so much more intricate. That's fine, but the simplest way I can put it is that when you live your life in the 3D world of my name is Jawan, my physical body's name is Jawan. That's what my mom named me. That's what's on my birth certificate, Jawan. Jawan is a black male. Jawan is a 6'5" male. Jawan is this. Jawan grew up in Battle Creek, Michigan. Jawan went here. That's Jawan. But my soul, she is someone from this other world. That's why I knew inside of me when I was coming out of the closet, I was like, I'm gay, I feel this way. But it's not about being gay, it's about like expressing this energy that feels like I know who I am. And I didn't know who that was, but at the age of 6, I told my parents, oh, I'm gay. And they were like, how do you know what gay is? And I was just like, oh, I just know what it is. And they tried to tell me profusely, no, you are not gay. Da, da, da. So I learned very quickly, oh, okay, I can't tell them, but that doesn't tell me that I'm not going to lie to myself. I know who I am. So I knew this, but this voice never had a name because it was always fighting with my thoughts. And so I convinced myself that my thoughts were fighting against some evil or whatever, what do you call it, deity. Sorry. That's like the devil and the angel. No, that's not real. That's literally you, your physical self who was once a child, now fighting with your higher self, which is your physical adults, thinking, emotional mind. And then every time it's like, hey, you should do this. And you're saying, no. You're just a little kid yelling at your parent. And then the paradigm starts to feel that way. That's why a lot of people feel like, man, why you want to make me feel like this? And why do I date people who make me remind me of my parents? Because energetically, that's where you left off. Your body is stuck in a matrix of, I'm still a child. I'm still someone's child. Yeah, physically you were born from that person. But once you hit puberty and you grow out and you start learning the world on your own, you're not really anyone's child. You're a child of the world. You have parents, but they're no longer the parentals who are watching over your physical everyday move. That's why when parents say it's hard to let go, is because since you were a baby, they've watched your every move, or at least you would hope, until you've grown up. And so this is why when we grow up, we have the awareness of always being watched and not knowing how to speak on it, because if no one tells you, you can speak on what you think and you can also speak on what you feel. Interchangeably, they're the same thing, but they're separate entities. If you think about it, the left brain is that logical side that again is able to process what we're physically taken from this world. Remember, when we say AI, artificial intelligence, all we're doing is taking a physical computer that looks and resembles us or has some understanding of when I see something, if it has a flaw or it has something that is a kink in the matrix, I observe it. I see what it does. I see how it messes it up. I replicate something that no longer has this ergonomic issue or digital issue. Now the link is smooth, it will work, and I will replicate this link so that that link never comes back. That's DNA splicing. That's all of that stuff thrown in there. I put a lot of stuff in my concepts because I want people to understand this is meant to reach everyone. This is from everyone's grasp of understanding, which is we are simply machines, beautiful, beautiful living machines that deserve respect and consent. But the most important thing is we have to recognize that this flesh will pass one day, and to live only in a world that is trained to do things for other people's benefit is going to hurt your soul's inner world. And so this is why Jah was like, no, I'm a female and I lived in a past life and this is who I am. And she told me her whole story and her whole background, and that's for me and mine. I will share that with those close to me, just because past lives you're supposed to protect. Some people like to share them, that's fine. I protect mine because this is how they know they feel safe with me, and I'm not going to expose them to energies that, again, people forget. We are living, breathing energies. I'm talking to you through a phone and giving you energy right now. And you're looking at this, thinking it, processing it into energy, into your mechanical body that then processes out emotions to feel however you want to feel. But that feeling then is what gets you going with the thought to feel motivated to do something or motivated to think about something or whatever. This is the point of what we as a collective conscious does. Anytime you share your thoughts and your views and your feelings, you're sharing collective consciousness. How it's processed, that's the media, that's people, that's all of, pop culture stuff. People like the delivery more than they like the message. And that's where you have to start thinking about how you listen to yourself. Are you listening to the actual message, or do you just like the delivery? Because if every time you need to listen to yourself, you have to pacify your body back down to the inner child the way your parent did, well, guess what? Every time you need your higher self, it's only going to feel like you need them to be a parent, and they're not going to know how to respect you. Remember, you are your inner parent, but you're also your masculine and feminine on who you're attracted to. So if you yourself are incapable of saying no to yourself, guess what? You're going to attract people who love to say no. And for some reason, you're not going to know why you're attracted to that, but your outside world is not going to like that because you're so used to saying no to who? Your inner child. If you're always telling your inner child no, then they're going to self-sabotage any new relationship that you desire because you were at a young age never told no and you internalized it. This is why it's important to name your soul, because then I can say, hey, Ja. And she says, yeah. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Is this something that we need to talk about? And she will tell me, yeah, I forgot that I felt this way about this a long time ago. And it can be a memory from with me and my actual physical mother for Jawan, or it's a memory from my grandmother to my mother. And I asked my mom, hey, did this happen? And she's like, yes, how do you know that? I'm like, y'all, I told you guys, I talk with spirits. There's no way for me to hide who I am. Mine is not for mediumship. Mine is not for soothsaying or any of that. It's just if someone wants to talk to me and have a message, that's how I deliver it. That's all that matters to me. I'm not here to tell anyone their future. So there's a ton of tarot readers and people who really are good at that and can do that for you. But for me, my soul, she has a mission, and I had to remember how to help her. The I being the higher self. This is why I said naming the soul is important, because once I is God. That's when they say I am God. I is God, because I don't know I's name. I don't know who I is, but I know that it's God, creation, source energy. I don't know what source energy. I don't know what creation energy. I just know it's a source that's greater than me, that gives me imagination, aha moments, things that come through, visions, this, that, and then my soul will process it. Like, is this something I remember, or was this something that we call a trick? You know, a lot of us say, are you being tricked? Is this a test? Yes, you do have spiritual tests, where they're like, do you remember what you did on this last journey? And so this is why it's good, because now me, Jawan, when I see Ja, when we say daydreaming, that's slipping off into another reality that needs to be completed, because something's calling them back to complete that timeline. So me, Joanne, I'm like, okay, Ja, you're about to go into a reality. Are you good? Do you remember this checkpoint? And she's like, yeah. And then I say, okay. So I stay there and I wait for her, and I keep my emotions calm, because there's times when that's where anxiety and sadness and all these things come from. Depression, this is my experience. I can't say this for everyone, but for me, when I was sad and depressed and had anxiety, it was because I was going through an emotional moment that didn't really belong to me. Like, when I tell you it doesn't belong to you, if you're sitting in your physical world and nothing is happening around you, but in your inner world there's a bunch of scenarios happening in timelines, and you're starting to get anxious about it, that is literally your soul trying to go through gateways and trying to get back to you, but you think it's something negative coming in. So the physical mind, the ego, starts to close the doors off, and then it starts trapping parts of your soul in old paradigms. This is where you fall into a depression, because then you're like, how do I get home? Because the soul is lost within inside of you. This is why Soul by Disney was such a great movie, when she was balled up and everything was around her. When you're trying to get home and you can't see, you get stuck and lost right where you are, because it's like, what's the point? Everywhere I walk, every time I try to get home, they close the door on me. Why do you think Disney loves portals? Think about monsters with the doors to get home and getting her home. None of this stuff is accidental. It's all symbolic for people to understand that there's something inside of you that is talking to you. Ja is talking to you right now. Joanne's filtering it to make sure that I sound eloquent. But the point is that that's the world we live in. I always tell people, when you're by yourself and daydreaming, when you're thinking and doing stuff, that's not you, the body. That's not your thoughts. That's a soul doing something. Because remember, when you go to sleep, do you remember anything? Not really. You try to, but the body really doesn't remember unless the body's awake, because the windows were the windows to the soul. Get it? So when we are awake, yeah, we can record and say, "Oh, this is real," but it's still just as real when you're asleep. You just when you but think about it this way: when you close your eyes and you fall into a deep sleep, that's when humans are actually able to visually see through the soul's eyes and see all of the realities and the light, the fractal light that we can't see with the human eye, and all of the sounds and stuff that we can't hear. That's why when people wake up, they're like, I had this beautiful vision. It was so bright and vivid, because we can't see with our regular eyes. But in our dreams, we have the third eye that remembers everything if we allow it to. That's why they say clean out gland and clearing stuff and clearing blocked energy. When you clear shadow work and clear emotions from the past, when you do your shadow work, which is again triggers that happen because the physical body ignores what the soul is trying to tell you when it's warning you about something it's already experienced. So when you do this and you're like, we don't need to do this again. Nope. I'm going to say this. I'm going to feel this way. But we don't have to. Nope. Nope. That's ego. You understand? We've seen this, people. The moment's done. Nope. Nope. They going to learn today. And then they end up learning because they didn't learn. This is the point. So that's when you have to listen. Like, you know what? They're pissing me off, but I'm not going to let them have this moment. That's when the soul's like, thank you, we did this, bro. I'm telling you, they're bored. They're going to go do it with somebody else. And as soon as you do that, I was just playing. I was just kidding. That kind of energy. That's when you say, okay, thank you for reserving my energy. So thank you for reminding me that I am not the experience. The physical body, the physical manifestation of the energy that created us before. I always tell people, remember, You came from an egg that was in your mother's ovaries, that came from a fertilized sperm from your father. Before you were even born, your energy was conscious before you. Do you understand? For you to just be born, remember, in the body, the baby's not waking up crying and stuff, it's moving. But when you come out, you're crying. Do you hear a baby cry inside of you? I don't know. No one's ever recorded that. That's for the women to clearly answer, but I don't know. The point is, what I'm saying, until they come out, until you come out of that womb, that's when the animation comes out. And that's when it's like, wow, okay, I'm out of the energy world. Because remember, while you're being made, energy is stored inside of you, being formed, and the soul is learning its flesh and growing into its flesh. And you both come out technically at the same age. When the soul and the body is born again, you're technically at the same age, which is why we're saying don't tell children that they can't be whatever they want. Don't discourage children from understanding. Remember to set boundaries with children. Remember to tell them the tone of how they should represent themselves, their physical form, but then also how to express themselves, their soul that has to learn how to remember its greater consciousness. Because remember, all of this is to create more of us. Remember, we are a species just like anything else, and the more we procreate, the more of us there will be, and we want to be an intelligent species. We don't just want to be a species that just keeps procreating and taking over our natural resources and then wondering why people are getting sick, because we don't have any natural resources and clean resources to rejuvenate our biodegradable bodies which come from this earth. So again, remember, it's not about the flesh, it's about the soul remembrance. So for me, saying, okay, Jawan, this is not happening to you, this is happening to Ja. And I say, Ja, do you remember what's happening with you? That's when I can trace the pathology through shadow work, because now Jawan's not reacting. If I'm not getting upset and I know it don't belong to me, Ja is forced to go back into her soul remembrance and say, you're right, this has nothing to do with that moment. Thank you. Because then she understands that, oh, I still have work to do too. I tell people the soul is not your savior. The soul is not the savior. Your soul is a gateway and a doorkeeper and a bridge builder to source, okay? Very important job, but just like you, human, breathing, physical, touch, manifestations, what it feels like, what it tastes like, what it must be like to have these things that we create through our imagination. Not to become gluttonous and greedy and hedonistic. That's the human's journey, to find balance. So when the human is balanced and we understand who we are, then the soul can be balanced and then they can do their job. This is why it's important to not get caught up in saying, well, I believe, but I don't know. Who cares what you, the human, believe? You're living, breathing. You didn't create your life. Something else created your life through your parents, and now you're alive. We as humans have to get over our ego of, well, I don't believe. Stop thinking then. Can you do that? Stop breathing and see if you can just keep living. Stop drinking water and see how your body reacts. Try not to walk on the earth. Tell me how that works out for you. You know what I mean? Humans have to stop taking it into consideration. Stop not taking into consideration that we're not crazy when we say that we understand there's something beyond our comprehension that gives us life and thought and breath and purpose and desires and passions every day. But we do have to remember that we all have a job, and that job is to cooperate and co-create. And so me, Juwan, I co-create by doing these videos. And then I cooperate with my soul who says, hey, this is the message that I trust will reach the people who it needs to reach, because trust is faith. When you say it's a belief, there's doubt, because that means that me, the body, needs proof from the soul and God. And who am I to ask proof? I'm living proof. Talking through an electronic device, through light codes and waves and whatever, and it's coming back to you in sound and a picture. Okay? When we say there's magic, this is magic. When we say there's God, this is God. When we say there's universe and spirit, this is all of it interchangeably working. Please remember how important and how powerful you all are. Okay? Everyone can say whatever they want to say. Call any names they want to call names. Remember, when someone starts calling you names and picking on you, that's distorted ego, because they're afraid of what you might know or do beyond what they know or know. And that's a sentence, beyond what they know or know. Because a lot of people think they know something, but then they don't really know. So then they just make up something and guess and say, well, yeah, this is what it is. It sounds confusing, but that's how we're able to distort positive energy and then blame it on the soul for when it told you to do it the right way, that gut intuition, that's the soul. That's grandma talk. Remember, when you were in your mother's womb, you were near your grandma's heart. That heart doesn't belong to your mother. It belongs to your grandma and grandpa who created her. Remember that. It's from their DNA that made your mother's heart. So grandma's heart was beating right next to you. That's ancestor DNA. That's energy all pumping through the physical form, which is the vessel of your mother that then made you a physical form and incarnation of all of those energy beings. Do you understand that this is more than just a physical thing of belief? This is a known faith and trust in yourself that brings you back to your spirit guide. And your spirit guide is your higher self. Remember, my physical form is Jawan. My masculine and feminine, for the fun of it, I named them Jessica and Jacob because that's just how they feel to me. And those are the energies, again, from my mom and dad who had to learn how to work together. Again, I was a child of divorce, so all of that's embedded in me. So when I learned how to work through what they didn't know how to work through, I actually allowed them to, boom, break the kundalini, and they now know how to work together for a higher purpose greater than themselves. Okay? Remember, when you have inner battles, it's probably because you don't understand that your parents didn't teach you what you need to be taught, and it's not their fault. But remember, we mimic and watch every single thing they do. We absorb it all, and then we just repeat it until we learn new behaviors to repeat, and then we pick which ones we like to create our personalities, and then we walk out into the world and say that's us. That's a temperament based on personality and behavior. That's not who you are essentially on this earth to be. You're just a vessel who, again, love your body, love yourself, but know that your soul has a greater purpose. And so when the physical body can agree, yes, I give consent to do this soul work, but I still have a physical life to live. So let's make sure it benefits me. You have to say that. The soul's like, cool, I will make sure you're comfortable and happy, and everything that we do, I will not put you through discomfort. Thank you. The masculine and feminine, they go through their everyday life making masculine and feminine choices. Do we want to get up and do this, or do we want to sit and wait? Do we want to go out and do this, or do we want to sit and wait? That's masculine and feminine energy. Passive in creation, silence and whatever dynamicism, as above so below. Once those are mastered, your higher self, which is Jah, my actual soul, that's who the connection to God works with. And then Jah can say, Jawan, I need you to go move here. And I say, okay. And Jah used to be like, wait, you're not going to question me? No, I ain't got nothing going on. I ain't got no kids. That's just me. Why not? Let's do it. And she was excited, like, yes, oh my God, finally, I have a human vessel who's willing to let me work without stopping me because of their ego. This is how people, again, all of the evil minds of the world, they had a vision and then they distorted it and became evil because they hurt other people with ill intent. But if you go out into the world and just let the soul do its mission without hurting anyone else or trying to disturb their timelines, and yes, you're going to come into timelines from your past and old soul tribes, and you can be like, key, cool, but don't just stop and get stuck there with them and be like, this is where I'm supposed to be. Not necessarily, maybe in that moment, but some people you're supposed to be there, again, like a season, and you just do the work and you go. And so the soul then, again, can complete checkpoints, which is where we start to ascend. This is where the ascension process begins. Then once you ascend past your ego, all you're doing is soul work. So then you are living as the soul incarnated as the body. And then it is just a human experience. And then the soul recognizes all of the pain it caused to the other bodies that it's lived in. And then that's where the regression work and the ancestor work begins, because now you've already cleared shadow work, you've already cleared trauma work from your human experience, and now you're going into the soul's world, and now you're clearing out their experience of past life and things that were embedded into them and their understanding or consciousness at the time of their other carnations. This is all connected to our history. Anytime we read a history book or do a history class and we read about ancestors, we're embedding information about them and their lives into us, which is why it's so important to give accurate information. Accurate information about all souls is important because it's the duality of balance that we say is the judgment in our final lives. The final lives is just based on which energy source you're going to go back to. If you did more heavy, dense concentration energy, more likely you're going to be recycled back to that. If you did lighter work that got you cleared out, then you're more than likely going to go higher and do lighter work. And so you're going to go into the ebb and flow of what we call yin and yang, the creation and the destruction energy. They're both one and the same because they need to be in order to be reborn again within themselves to give back to the whole. So, yes, this all began with me naming my soul. And when I name my soul, guess what? When you have a name, it makes you feel identified. Self-identity is the most important thing that you can do for yourself. Think about it. If you didn't have your name, that's fine, but who would you be? it's not a bad or a good thing, but who would you be without a name? Them, they, it, this, I don't know, but people are going to want that. And for some reason it feels weird to think about, but when you have a name, it's like, yeah, that's my name. But it's also not my essence. My essence is Ja. And so for me, Jawan, to name her felt really good because she's like, what can I be? And it happened naturally. People just started calling me Ja without me thinking about like, oh yeah, Jawan, Jah. And then they were like, no, Ja means God. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And because when it happened, it was part of my spiritual journey when I was like, I am God. I'm part of God. God is me. Like that's how I'm able to see me being breathing, speaking, alive, like moving. This is a state of qualia. To notice that I can move my hands and breathe. Like, oh my God, I'm alive. When you look in the mirror and you notice you're looking back, looking at yourself, that's qualia, noticing that you are alive, but yet you're not your body. That's all of that. And so that's when I say, okay, I am God. I accept it. I am not trying to be anyone's Messiah. I am God because I am source energy living and breathing like every part of this world. And they say, thank you. Thank you. And then we have normal conversations just like anyone else without me saying, I don't believe you. I don't trust you. Who are you? Who's talking to me? And they're like, you know who I am. Why are you acting so brand new? With me, my soul is like, oh, hey, boo. Hey, boo. Sometimes my soul's like, Juwan, can we do this? And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm tired today. They're like, all right, but when can we? And I'm like, we can do it this day. And they're like, cool. Sometimes Juwan's like, hey, I want to do this. And my soul's like, it ain't time yet, Juwan. But I'm like, but I want to. They're like, it's not time, but how about we do this instead? Okay. It's all about compromise. This is how you meet yourself back in the middle to be a balanced vessel for source to work through. So name your soul. I promise you it will be the best investment you've ever done. As always, guys, thank you for taking the time to follow me along this spiritual journey. All of my information is down below. You can check out anything you need from resources to books to other like blog material, motivational posts. As always, I love you guys. Take care of yourselves. Besos. Mwah.